on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pass the Message, the show with real life people, relevant life hacks for you to take to the rest of your peoples and learn something. I'm your host, Jeff J, and today we talking money talk, big tax talk. If you be skipping out on that, then maybe you want to check out some other episodes, but we gonna get your money right today. And I got my homie Dora Belle here. Dora Belle from the Tax Collective. This is a tax firm that specializes in small and mid-sized businesses, startups, and tax audits. Now, Dora has also worked for Ernst & Young. If you are on Wall Street or in the financial sector, you already know the Big Four talk. The New York State Department of Taxation and Finance, and Morgan Stanley. And she has a master's and a bachelor's from the St. John's University. And you already know Queens is in the building. I don't gotta tell you different. You know, St. John's in the place. Hofstra, don't get tight. You know that's my love, but I'm from Queens too. And she is a licensed tax accountant. Dora, what's going on?
Hi, how's it going? How are you?
Well. I'm doing well. How are you doing in all of this old normal?
It's been a lot. I think though that like people are actually using this time to catch up on those taxes. So it's been busy, very, very busy.
Oh, okay, so that means she that's money talk right there. That's a lot of work because she's talking about she got a lot of business. So even if I'm getting this little, listen, I'm not even gonna hold you. I made sure my taxes are already filed for the year because I don't want Dora talking to me like, oh, I don't play. Like I get them in. January 1st rolls around and I already got my stuff lined up because like for me, you know how it is, like the earliest you really could do it is mid-February because depending on what your W-2s and all of that look like and what you get back, that's like the earliest, but I'm already ready. Like I don't play that. Like get it in, give me the verdict, and then I move on with my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's good. Honestly, I think that a lot of us aren't doing our taxes and we're just like, oh, I'll worry about that later because right now I'm just focused on getting to the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's 3 years and you haven't filed your taxes, like there's no excuse for that, especially everyone who has had to sit inside for now 8 weeks. There really is no excuse why there's no taxes being filed.
I'm saying they don't just forget about it and just let us go. Like, just go. It's just like at the bodega when you be like, yo, Poppy, I got you next time. They don't get you next time.
No, they actually, interest and penalties are going to keep running. And it's just best that you just file it on time. I mean, if you're not filing it, then the statute is not running, which means that which means that they have every right to come back to you at any time. They can come back to you in 15 years for 2020. So imagine in 2035, you're getting a notice that you never filed your 2020 tax return. You don't even know where that information is. I mean, the likelihood of that happening is very slim, but that's pretty extreme. But they do come back in 5 years and they're like, you never filed this tax return. And if they file it for you, they're filing it for you at the highest rate. And then they're going to send you a notice saying that you owe that tax at the highest rate at 39.6%.
I'd be like, yo, why'd you tell me in 2020? I would have got you. Like, I was here the whole time. Like, what you mean? Yeah, y'all know what happened in 2020. You know what was going on. Like, y'all are wilding right now. But we're going to get into all that good talk, and we're going to figure it out. Make sure if you're in a hole, we're going to get you out. And if you're out of the hole, we're going to make sure you stay out. But first, I want to hear your origin story, Dora. How did you go from working for tax firms to starting your own? How did you get there?
So actually, I was in college in 2008, and it was a recession similar to what may be about to happen here. And I was just really nervous that I wasn't going to have a job. At first I was a journalism major. I loved writing. I loved like the idea of investigative reporting. But I was scared that I wasn't going to get a job. And I knew that I needed to be able to support my lifestyle. And so I changed my major to accounting, graduated, got a job at Ernst & Young right away, then stayed there for 5.5 years. I was miserable pretty much all of my 20s, but I made good money, right? So I was like, I'm in my 20s, I'm making more money than my peers. I need to just shut up and stop complaining and just focus. And so that's what I did. I focused, I got my experience, and then I guess I had like my fuck it moment. And I quit without a job. And it's funny, is one of my good friends, Charles, actually said, "Are you crazy? Why would you ever quit your job without a job?" And I'm like, "I'm good. I have a savings account. I'm good. I'll be fine for a year. I'll be
Right.
fine." It's like, no fucking way you're gonna be fine. I'm getting you a job. Send me your resume. Literally within, I think that Friday, I quit on a Monday or something. That Friday, I had an interview at Morgan Stanley, got the job. So I was probably out of work for maybe 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that was only just going through the interview process. So I got a job at Morgan Stanley. I went to Morgan, and honestly, the walls were gray. Even though the walls were white, the walls were actually gray for me. And I was miserable every day. I thought that leaving Ernst and Young meant, at least I'll get my life back. But then I went to a 9 to 5, and I saw like people are lazy. People are not even finishing their tasks. It's like, it's 5 o'clock. Oh, I'm out of here. It's like, what? We're not getting anything done. Deadlines were constantly pushed back. And I realized like that I missed that rush. And so I really tried actually so after I left, I tried to like go into entertainment, try to figure out my life in like the fashion industry, and that didn't work out very well either. Because my first salary out of college was $70,000. So I
Ooh.
went from making, when I left Morgan Stanley, I was making a little over 100.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from making a little over 100 to making 20.
Is
Uh,
this when you went to?
this is after I left Morgan, and then I was just contributing,
Ah,
and I was
okay.
just freelancing, and I was just trying to figure out like where I landed in that space.
Right.
But I think the problem for me was I was at the time, I think I was about to be 30. Yeah, I was 29. And I had already made too much money, honestly. And I don't mean that in like any kind of like pompous way, but I really had made too much money for me to take that kind of pay cut. And I felt like I had too much experience for me to sit behind these young kids and actually listen to them tell me what to do.
Right.
So I guess it was a little bit of an ego problem. And so I had, honestly, tips off to anyone that actually has been able to like get through that transition, because it's not an easy transition. But then I never missed a tax season in between. And so tax season was approaching. And I was still doing my thing, like with contributing. And that was cool. But then the blog went out of business, or they canceled the blog. They decided to go with merch. So that was done.
Right.
And I started Tax Collective that very next tax season. So I was always doing taxes. I've been doing taxes since I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked at H&R Block. I've worked at small accounting firms. I've worked for LegalZoom, 1-800 Accountant. And then it was time to just like take the leap. And I did. And it's been good. It's been interesting. Every day is a different day. um,
Yeah.
but it's been good.
So that is a journey.
Yeah,
Okay. Like you've
it's a
been
lot.
around the whole gamut of tax companies. Like you named it, you've worked for it at one point, but then you eventually said, I want to go out and get my own, right? What do you see are the pros and cons between working for yourself and working for an employer?
Mm. So, I mean, I think I always say to actually get a couple DMs here and there about like, I have a savings account. What should I do with the money? What kind of business do you think is a low startup type of business?
Mm-hmm.
And while I have like in my head those low startups kind of businesses, I really honestly feel like you should not start a business unless you're passionate about it. Unless it's something that you believe in. Maybe not passion, but just something that you believe in, because there are going to be some days that even when you love it, you hate it.
Hmm.
And so I would say that just make sure whatever it is that you're doing, that you figure out that trade to be able to market it on your own as an individual. Because especially for right now, what we're seeing is that you're expendable, you're replaceable. Companies are going to figure out everyone's working from home. Everyone that's working from home is not going to have a job in July. Companies are going to be able to figure out like who's actually just showing up to work. And for those of us who are just showing up to work and barely and just getting by, I think it's time for you to start looking into what are my skills? Like, what are my hard skills that I could actually put together a presentation and I could sell someone?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's selling scissors, there's a market for selling scissors. Even if it's buying a truck and paying someone else to drive the truck, there's a market for everything.
Cameron was talking the other day in another interview about how he was into toilet paper. And this was like months before everything hit. Months. And he was saying how he's like, yo, everybody's going to need toilet paper at some point. So I invested in toilet paper. Now he looks like a genius due to all these shortages and all of that. So yeah,
I didn't even know about that. I'm gonna look into
facts.
that. Yeah, that's interesting. It is. It can be something so simple. I mean, just as an example, the brand Craftsmith.
Craftsmith, what is that?
It's like it's more like a luxury, like paper type of like arts and crafts type of thing. It's sold in Michael's.
Oh, you got money. You got money. You talking luxury paper?
No,
the paper I got
like
is
luxury
loose
paper.
To the leaf. Oh, you talking? I'm joking, but I know
stock.
Michael's, like arts and crafts type stuff.
Yeah. So Craftsmith is like probably it's just like a branded name, but the guy that started Craftsmith, his name is actually John Smith, and he is the youngest of, I think they have like maybe 3 brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
He is the youngest, did not go to college, and his company is worth close to $1 billion, and he sells paper, colored paper.
Making paper,
So
selling paper.
there
That's
is
wild.
no wrong business. So yeah, I would just recommend that you actually just try to figure out what you're doing and try to figure out what trade that is so that you can sell your skill. You can't count on corporations ever.
Right. And there's also that allure of having a consistent paycheck versus taking the risk on yourself, right? Because that's where a lot of comfort comes into play, where you say, well, I know if I work here, every 1st and the 15th, I'm getting paid, but I may not get paid doing my own thing. It may be sporadic. At the same time, you may not fire yourself, but a company can.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, actually, so I'm actually in the middle of trying to figure out, so after you become an entrepreneur, that's not the final step of risk. There's risk that you're going to take every single day. And every day is scary. Like I probably just got comfortable calling myself an entrepreneur when all of this stuff started happening, because I knew I didn't need to apply for a job and I had enough money saved to be fine. So I think that like being an entrepreneur doesn't get easy. Every day is a different day. There's risks that you take with every single revenue stream, every new revenue stream that you try to go after. And right now I'm actually in the middle of, I have big contracts with bigger accounting firms that give me work, right? Which means that I sort of do actually have someone that I'm reporting to. And then I also have clients that I report directly to them. They're my boss. I report to them. If they fire me, there's a consequence. And so the work though that I do for the bigger accounting firms, of course, I'm making less money because I have to split that in half. But I'm getting so much experience that it's worth it in some kind of way. However, I got to take a chance on myself, and I'm spending too much time on that work. And so I am in the same sort of position as someone like who has a 9 to 5 and is trying to figure out this consistent check that's coming in. Like, how do I know when's the right time? How do I know that I have the actual right amount saved in your bank account? And I want to tell you, there is never going to be an amount that's right. even if you get to the point of $30,000 saved, and let's say you go back home and stay with your family, that's still not gonna. It's never gonna. You're never in your head gonna think that that's enough. So there's no dollar amount.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it has to. It's just all on you. It has to be like, who do you think that you are? Whoever you think that you are, can you be that person? And then can you show up and be that person every day? And I am scared to death to drop this contract just to like lose the relationship. But I have to do it in order for myself to grow. So I don't think that there's like there's no formula to it. No one can actually convince you to quit your 9 to 5, to quit that like comfort zone. But if you want to grow, if you want to test, I've tested myself. I've seen so many different versions of myself becoming an entrepreneur. But what I enjoy the most is that every day I get to be whoever I want to be. I don't have to like fit into, I don't have to put on this like suit or change the way that I speak. Or even when I'm writing emails and I'm speaking to my peers, because most of my clients are my peers, that's even been a very interesting thing. Like, do you speak very professional to them, or are you like, hey Jeff, what's going on? How are you? And then like, is that comfortable? But the beauty in all of that is there is no right and wrong. Like I can say, hey, Jeff, or I can say, hi, Jeff. I can be very corporate with Jeff, or I can be like super laid back. And it really, every day it is a different day and I get to be myself. So I think that that for me is like, that for me is, I would never, that's enough. Even if I'm not driven by money, but for those that are, I think that the the balance that you have to figure out is like, what's more important to you? Like, are you actually chipping away pieces of yourself, showing up in corporate America every day?
Right. And
Yeah.
having that inherent why that you have for what you do, and letting that carry in your actions and in your day-to-day life, so that you're able to manifest what you have. And also, I thought it's funny that you talk about when you work with your peers, when you work with your friends or your clients, and that code switching that goes on, right?
Yeah.
With them, where you want to keep it professional because friends have a
And be
tendency
respectful.
to
Right.
they won't look at you as a professional because they look at you as a friend first. So if you
Mm-hmm.
play around with your business, then it's like, Dora, whatever, girl, da 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 da. But it's like, no, but X, Y, and Z. So it's finding that balance between professional language and personal connection. Because
Yeah.
I never really subscribed to the don't mix business and pleasure. I think you have to, in all relationships that you have to have boundaries, and you have to establish them so that you can get the job done that you need to get done.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with like accounting. I mean, I think that it's so serious. It's such like a scary environment, or I won't say scary, but such an unknown territory for a lot of us. That nobody wants to hear me speak in everyday lingo
Mm-hmm.
when we're actually talking about your business.
Right.
And so like
It's a high stress environment though. Like
yeah.
it definitely is. High stress, fast pace. It's everything that you see on a resume and
Yeah.
more, right?
Yeah, I wish that you could actually tell that to my clients so that they can like get off my back a little bit.
Tell them to
It's
go
a
work in the
high
big four for a couple of
stress
years and they'll figure it out.
environment and it's fast paced. High stress environment and fast paced. Yeah.
Right.
People don't get that. And I don't know like what, I mean, I think that everyone is just inherently just thinking about themselves. And so they just like want what they want. They want it fast. But a large part of what I do is like, I can do everything for you, but you do have to have the business acumen to understand all the processes. Because if you drop the ball, I can't fix it.
Right.
If we miss it, these are always hard deadlines. If we miss a deadline, there's no going back to that. I mean, there's no fixing it. We have to figure out, are we going to pay those penalties, or are we going to actually try to see if we can get those penalties
It's a
abated?
fact.
Um, So everyone has to, I mean, there is just a little bit of effort that has to come forth from both parties, which sometimes is a pain point for me. But um, I mean, eventually we figure it out. At least after one deadline is missed, um, and then I usually, I mean, I have like all different kind of methods for everyone
Mm-hmm.
because we all work so different. But I have like clients like, okay, this is the second deadline that you missed, so now I have to figure out a way to like not like teach you a lesson, but like,
Understand what the consequences are
yeah,
for missing
yeah,
deadlines, right?
yeah. So I've had some times where it's like, you missed that, you know that that's actually now going to, you're now subject to this amount of penalty, and I'm not abating it for you, because we can't. Um, and then they figure it out. They actually are like, okay, I take this more serious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever works, however we get the job done, it works for me. Yeah.
Hit dogs holler and so do hit pockets. Trust me. That's one thing that you'll learn. Yo, a lot of y'all learn one way or another. What do you feel is like one big either yeah, I'll say it like this. What do you think is a one professional misconception that people have about your field?
Um, I think that everyone thinks that they can do it themselves. Like I actually
You talk about
take
taxes, right?
yeah, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people think they can do their taxes themselves. And you know what? A lot of people can, but a good amount cannot. And I take I don't charge people for a consultation, so I sit down with a lot of different people, and people that are leaving their full-time jobs to become an entrepreneur, people who are already existing entrepreneurs and just been like just a little confused about the process and knowing that there are holes in their process of their business accounting and taxes. And not everyone is going to like agree with my price point. Some people feel like, listen, that's too high. And in the beginning, when I was 25 and I had a full time job, it was fine. It was like, oh, okay, I'll charge you $200 to do your taxes because I'm really just doing this for a favor because I have a job.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's so much cost involved that like I can't just decrease my prices because it doesn't work for your business. And so I am actually trying to just figure out a way like how do I package this into a way that for all so that you wouldn't have to reach out to me for anything, but every business is so different. That in itself is a whole nother story. But back to your question of like what is a huge misconception? I mean, I think that people think that they can do it themselves, and you can do it yourself, but the problem is that you don't know all of the rules. You don't know all of the deductions. You don't understand exceptions that come into place and limitations that come into place. And so you could be filing your tax return yourself and you have a business for the last 10 years, but you never realized that you can write off. Maybe you never realized that the depreciation rules just recently changed and you can write off up to $25,000 for a truck if you purchase that truck and you're using it for business purposes. But you don't know that. And so what you've been doing is you've been saving your gas receipts. When you give your gas receipts to an accountant, they throw it away, by the way, because I don't look at a gas receipt
Right.
because the IRS is not considering the amount that you spend on your gas. The IRS wants to know how many miles did you drive.
Yep.
And so there's just so many different rules that come into place when you have assets and you have equipment and you have inventory that I think it's important that you just seek out an accountant just for a consultation, just to maybe even just to do a review of like, have I been doing this correctly? Is there anything that you think that I could be doing better? This is what I'm thinking about doing. This is where I'm moving to into this space. I think that it honestly could be a difference of $10,000 to $50,000 that you're missing out on because you don't know that if you have a loss, you can actually carry forward that loss and net it against income in the future.
Right.
And so you don't have to pay taxes in the future People don't know that. Um, but so I think that that's just the biggest misconception is that I'm just like typing numbers in a box, and
Right.
it's like that's the easy part. That for sure is the easy part. But there's a lot of calculations and spreadsheets that go into it before that.
Right. So it's two lessons that I've learned from listening to you and just in my life, right? One is don't succumb to the hubris of professional execution. And what I mean by that is you can't do everything. You can't do everything. And if you want to take care of the important things in your life, why not get somebody who's dedicated their life to it and their education to execute that and to perform those tasks for you, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I can fire up TurboTax if I want and plug in the numbers and get a figure. But I don't think it's the figure that I may want. It may not be the best figure. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hire a professional the same way how I'm not going to go on WebMD and them tell me that a hangnail means I have the bubonic plague, right? I'm going to go to an actual medical doctor
Yeah.
and figure out what's going on with me. Now, one of the main reasons why I got a tax professional to do my own taxes is because I know how many years we've been on this earth where we see wealthy people and businesses figuring out this tax code like it's a Rubik's cube and getting the best for themselves and working the system in a way where they use the codes, they use all the write-offs, they use every bit of the law to get to pay the least amount of money and get the most back, right?
Yeah.
Us as
Like our
private
president.
citizens and individuals, we can do the same thing. You just have to know what to do and to utilize the code as best possible. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to make sure my money's right. Because if it's one thing, I'm not going to manage my own money when it comes to taxes. Like I'm going to get somebody to handle it. Like that's just been my experience. And the other thing is when people say time is money, that is 100% facts, right? And the thing about time being money is reclaiming your time is a cost too. So why would I want to spend all this time looking up codes and figuring out the mileage calculation for which I could get taxed off and looking up all these figures when I could get somebody to do that and I can utilize that time maybe on my own business, maybe on a hobby, a skill, getting some rest, spending time with loved ones, because we're here for a finite period. So you want to maximize the time that you have. So why not get a professional to do those things and take the pressure off of you, you know?
Yeah, I actually try to I always tell people, like, honestly, there are some things like you can do it yourself. If you just started out this year, last 2 years in, maybe you can do it yourself. And I don't shame I'm definitely not shaming those who do their taxes themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that once you get to a point where you're focusing on your business, you should be focusing on the operations and you actually really should be outsourcing every other service that you have to do because I mean a lot of my clients are the creatives and the last thing that they want to do is paperwork.
Get them to do some paperwork.
Yeah, right, like, and so like for them it's just not worth it, the stress of like it's just not worth it. People send me things all the time, they don't even open up the file, they just forward it over, like I don't even know what that said, Dora, but it said tax and I figured, that's all you. And that for me is the ideal client, someone who you're focused on your operations and then I got you over here for your accounting and your taxes.
Right.
But I don't think people get there until you get into a certain year of being seasoned as an entrepreneur. Because even down to like choosing your legal structure, like for instance, if you're an LLC, or you're a DBA, that's all filed the same. But if you make the election to be an S corporation, now you're not subject to those self-employment taxes.
Word.
But in order to not pay the self-employment taxes, you have to put yourself on payroll. So who's going to do payroll? You got to hire an accountant to do payroll. Like, honestly, some accountants don't even know how to do payroll. So I definitely would never advise that you do payroll yourself. Not unless like you're someone who's like you're into reading rules. You understand that like you should go to the instructions for every form. If you're into that, then like we'll have a conversation. I have some clients that I trust that we're working through it right now. We're trying to figure out, can you handle payroll on your own? But I mean, because to me, it's just, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm adding on services because I'm trying to take your money. I want I want my clients to know that like I'm here for you to help you in any kind of way. This is my price, and this is the value of that. None of that is on your shoulders. If you want to do it yourself, that's fine, and we can figure out that way too, where I consult for you. But it's just so many so many tax savings that you could be missing out on because you're trying to do your taxes yourself. And just something as simple as that self-employment tax, which is 15.3%. That's a double tax because you already are getting taxed from income tax rate. So let's say that you're somewhere in between 70 to 100 or 70 to 90,000 as a profit. You're paying 22% on that. And then because you didn't make the election and you're an LLC, you're paying an additional 15.3% on that. Whereas if you would have made the election, that 15.3 is non-existent. And it's actually a tax deduction, an additional tax deduction. And then you bury the rest of your expenses like in the business.
Right. That's almost like the equivalent of the federal tax rate for just not making that election. From if my quick math is correct.
The highest rate, yeah.
Yeah, that's like
37.
Yeah, man. Get a professional if you can, man. Get a professional if you can, because whew, I like math actually, and those numbers just the quickest math off the top of my head said, Jeff, that ain't right. That ain't not that your calculation wasn't right, but just like that don't sound like something that you want to deal with. So that's good to know. That's good to know, like about that whole aspect of doing your taxes yourself versus hiring a professional and outsourcing. So let's get into some topics that I feel like a lot of people are touching a lot of people today, and places where you can shed some light, give us your perspective and where we can help. Right now, this stimulus check number 1, allegedly, because there may be more on the way, but you know, I got mine. I actually didn't think I was.
That's great.
I didn't even think I was gonna get one. So, you know, feds, don't take it back because it's already gone. But like I got a percentage of it, right? Like one of my friends got $19, which is hilarious. Wow. It's like, yo, why'd you just keep it? Why'd you just send me a Uber Eats certificate? Then I could just pay the delivery fee and then buy what I want, because you know how Uber Eats is. It's like $40. You would think they were delivering it by helicopter the way them damn prices are. But yeah, in terms of the stimulus check, right? There's some people who got it, some people who didn't. We've heard in the news about millionaires who are getting $1 million versions of this check. So can you sort that all out for us in terms of what the status of those checks are and why there may be these discrepancies?
Yeah. So the reason why that person got $19 is probably because they made $99,500 and something dollars. And so therefore there's a limitation. And so if you made over 75,000, then the stimulus bill was reduced by $50 for every $1,000. And then by the time we got to 99, it was completely gone.
Right.
So maybe that person made 98. I don't know the exact math on that.
So you said $50 for every 1,000. $50 for every 1,000 that you made over, right?
Right.
So then 10,000 over is 500, 20,000 over is 1,000, and then once you keep going higher, that's when it's eliminated. So it probably was right on the brink. That's good to know, because when outside opens back up, they definitely treating. They definitely treat, because I'm all in the pockets. But yeah, please
Right?
continue.
The ones who are not concerned about the stimulus payment, those are your friends that should be buying the shop.
Oh, that's when we celebrate, and it's like, yo, man, this shit hit me hard. So
Yeah. But and then I guess some people, a lot of people haven't gotten theirs. And so I will say a little tip. This is something that people still haven't figured out. A little tip. If you go onto the IRS website and you get to the Get My Payment section, if you enter your information in all caps and you enter it exactly how it looks on your tax return on that page one, then you will actually be able to go to the next screen to figure out if your check has been mailed or if you have the ability to enter your accounting and your routing number. So that has been fixed. It's just that little tidbit about like it being in caps locks, that is actually what's causing the error.
Mm.
Which I have no idea how they wrote a code like that, but that's the error.
Mm, mm,
The
mm,
error
mm, mm.
says what
I went to school for computer science, so I'm triggered by stuff like that. It's like, damn, it won't compile.
Yeah. So, and then I guess like to address the rich people getting this, I think the article said something like rich people are going to get $1.7 million and we're getting a measly $1,200.
Right. I'm sure it's not that straightforward, but yeah,
Yeah.
enlighten the people.
It's not really that straightforward, but I do want people to just get in your mind that rich people don't only mean a certain kind of person.
Mm.
It actually, I feel like the article should have been, they could have used another word and they could have said business owners. So, business owners, depending on the way that you set up your structure, right now, passive activity is no longer in play. And therefore, it is going to allow a lot of losses to now come out of what we call them suspended, because you're not allowed to take them until you have the exact bucket of income to
Right.
net against. And so, because of those rules being taken out, I mean, if you are a real estate mogul, most of the time you do have a lot of losses because you're just like, it's construction on construction on construction. You probably most likely didn't pick up a lot of income because, I mean, even in my apartment building, there's just a lot of vacant apartments. And so what they're doing is they're actually going to allow you to take those losses now. And then, so what the article was saying, they were computing the amount that may trickle down to in tax savings. And for some people, it is gonna be that much. But I think that just says like, and that could honestly that could go for anyone. That could go for you if you owned three pieces of real estate. That would be for an 18-year-old who is invested in art. It could be it's a passive activity. There's just so many different types of passive income. But that's what that is related to. So I would not act. So what I would actually do, depending on who you are, depending on how you receive your income, I would ask your accountant about that when you go file your 2020 taxes. So they're not saying that rich people got a check for $1.7 million. That's definitely not what happened. What's happening is in 2021, when we go file 2020 taxes, that's where all of the benefits will be received. But there are going to be lots of benefits for everyone. I honestly think that this stimulus bill, they really covered every single person in the stimulus bill. If you were cut out in some way, it's either because you still have a job, or you're not filing your taxes.
Mm.
Because even if right now you're not receiving unemployment, even if you have not heard back from the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, even if they reduce that cash advance to $1,000, there are still other programs that will be available when you file your 2020 taxes to make up for the losses that we're all in some way actually feeling right now.
Right.
So I think that if any year you should have an accountant, it's 2021. Don't go file your 2020 taxes by yourself if you're a business owner, because you need to figure out what applies to you. If you didn't get that PPP loan, you're actually eligible for a $10,000 tax credit. Um, if you, there's also like just a lot of other incentives for business owners to actually get health insurance this year because of what happened with COVID. There's a lot of other options for there's a lot of options for payroll as well. Like, let's say that so usually, if a client is going to go on payroll and they're deciding, like, okay, I'm done paying all these taxes, I'm going to go on payroll right now. And I'm going to make the election to be an S Corp. What they have to pay in Social Security and Medicare taxes. Right now, if you're on payroll, you can actually defer your Social Security taxes until 2021. And I mean,
Okay.
by the time 2021, you're writing it off as a deduction. So the money is just credited back to you. There are really just a lot of rules for business owners to get themselves out of the hole after this. But you have to be a legitimate business owner. You cannot be someone that you don't pick up all your income. If you're not picking up all your income, you should not be applying for any of this, because because they are actually going to take a fine tooth comb and go back to all of these applications. And I mean, we all know, like, I hate to even, well, I mean, this is just fact to me, that this is my reality, that the demographic that they choose to go through their paperwork, most of the time it's us.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if your paperwork is not together, I would not have applied. It's just not worth it.
Right.
There's like a couple, it's written in the bill that actually, if you lie and you get caught if you get caught, that you'll go to prison, or you'll be subject to fines up to 250,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they figure out which one, you have to go into the IRS office. You go into, like, it's almost like an interrogation room. It's a cold room. There's nothing in there, no windows. And you sit there, and you and an auditor, and they're going to ask you, your accountant isn't there. I mean, unless you have one, you can bring that. If they're licensed, then they can actually be there. But when they start asking those questions and you can't answer them, especially, everything depends on, because these are people who are issuing these penalties. It depends on your demeanor. Are you cocky? Are you an asshole? Because it's up to them to decide, like, what your penalty is going to be, if that's jail time, or to give you a $50,000 penalty, or are they just going to say, okay, it's okay, just give us back the money?
Right. It sounds like the first 48 almost. They sit you in a room
Yeah.
like, yo, we got your accountant. He already said that you ain't filed taxes in 10 years. So you help me out. Let me know what you need. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, do you want a cigarette? That's crazy. Like, just don't. So what I take from that is, don't go full Bobby Axelrod in the room and think that you got everything covered, because usually, from what I've seen, a lot of times when they do these audits and when they're coming to look, it ain't the richest of the rich.
Yeah.
It's usually like regular folk, quote unquote. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. You had mentioned the Paycheck Protection Program, and that's something that, admittedly, I don't really know too much about, because I don't think it directly affected me. So can you break down what that is and how people can take advantage if they can?
Yeah. So, okay. So I want to explain that, though, in and also explain the economic injury disaster loan that I'm going to call EIDL, EIDL. The street name is EIDL. So the EIDL
This is
and the
tax drugs right
PPP.
here. This is tax drug talk right now.
So the EIDL is actually a loan, and then a lot of people got $1,000 as an advance, but the application is not complete yet. They're
Mm-hmm.
still going to reach out to you, and then they're going to ask you, do you want to take out, do you need more funds? If you would like to take out more funds, it's a loan. That loan is going to be at 3.75% if you're a for-profit business, and then it's 2.75% if you're a nonprofit. That's lower than any kind of loan that I can think of. That's lower than that's a lower interest rate than you usually get on a home. That's a lower interest rate that you usually get on a car, a boat, an RV, a truck. And so I think that you should go visit an accountant, and you should have them do a projection and project out your future income,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can figure out, what if you took out this money, if you took out more money from the idol, would you be able to pay it back in a year? Because you actually don't start making payments until a year from now. So, do you right now have confidence in yourself to bring your business from point A, almost like an investor meeting, right? Like, we're inserting money into your company. And so I think that um, that's very interesting, because it's also not going to affect your credit. As long as it's under 200,000, it's not going to affect your credit, and your credit does not come into play. They're not taking any collateral. And so that is going to be very interesting to see, like, which one of my clients, like, we're still talking to figure out who's going to do what. But I'm very interested to see, like, how much money are you going to take out right now? And then just really interested to see how responsible can you be with that amount of money? And then there's the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program.
All right.
So that is for businesses who in 2019 reported a profit. And the way that you figure that out is on your Schedule C, line 31. If there is a minus number there, no, you cannot get the PPP. Just rip your application out. But if it's a positive number, then you just take that number and you multiply it by 2.5, and then that is the amount that's the maximum amount that you can take out. So it may not actually. You don't have to take out 2.5. You can just multiply that number by 2. Because if you take out 2.5, then you do have to pay back a portion of it, just 0.5% of it. But if you take out just 2 months, 2.5 means 2.5 months of your payroll, rent, mortgage, and utility expenses. So if you just took out 2 months of that, and I have some clients who are like, I don't want any loans, I don't want any business, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want any loans. But I do want what is fair, and if everyone else is deserving, my business has actually been closed, and I do want that. And so some of my clients are just taking out 2 months worth of their payroll, utilities, mortgage, and all of that. But the way that you figure out how much you should be applying for is you just take 31 and multiply it by 2, let's say, because you don't want a loan. And then once you get the money, there's still a whole other ball game now. So now you have the money in your account, and let's say you apply for unemployment and you are approved. Well, you're going to have to pay that unemployment back, because you were just paid for 8 weeks of payroll, and we've only been quarantined right now for 6.
Right.
So you will have to pay back the unemployment if you got the PPP. If we go past May 15th, you don't have to pay back every single week, but you'll have to figure that, like, every week that we go over, you wouldn't have to pay back that week. Now so now you have the money in your account, and then
and just to clarify, the PPP is not a loan, is it?
Okay, so actually it is a loan, because, and the reason why they're calling it a loan, the reason why they're calling all of these things a loan is very much to confuse us and very much to intimidate you from taking it out and feeling confident in yourself to take it out.
Yeah, because when I hear loan, that means you got to give money back at some point.
Yeah. But if the reason why it's a loan is because if you don't spend it correctly, then it is a loan, and all of it is required to be paid back. But if you spend it correctly, which means that if you spend it within the rules, then none of it is required to be paid back. So
it's a conditional loan.
Right. That turns into a grant if you spend the money correctly. So let's say you only take out that 2 months worth of your payroll, and then let's say that's $100,000. And then let's say that, so you have the money. Now what you have to figure out is you can only put the way that they're going to verify how you spent your money is going to be when you file your taxes. And so you just want to make sure that 75% of the money actually goes to payroll. As long as 75% of that money goes to your payroll, then it becomes a grant and none of it is required to be paid back.
So if you put that money towards paying your employees, then it's a grant.
Well, let's say that you are like, let's say me, for example. Well, okay, no, I won't take me because I have an assistant. I'm gonna say, let's say someone who's just one. You're just one business owner, one employee, just you.
Like an
And
S corp or LLC or whatever.
yeah, like a single member.
Single member LLC or
And
S corp.
then,
Yep.
let's say that your line 31 on Schedule C was 10,000. So then let me actually write this down because I just want to make sure I get the numbers right.
She breaking the numbers down. We getting an analysis. So it's like the film room right now. She gonna let you know why you ain't shooting right.
All right. So then let's say that it's 10,000 on line 31. And then let's say you do take out 2.5. So 10,000 times 2.5 is 25. And then when you get this money back, when you get this money into your account, you have to make sure that 75% of 25,000 is spent on payroll, but that's actually to yourself. And so what that really means is, well, wait, if we can do 25,000 times 75%, 25,000.
Don't be scared of math, y'all. It won't hurt you. It'll help. Don't be scared.
Okay, so let me start from the beginning just so that it's clear. Okay, so on line 31, if it says 10,000, let's say it says $10,000, and let's say you're an LLC, you work for yourself, it's just you have no employees. So you're the employee. It's your payroll that we're talking about here. So in 2019, when you filed your taxes, or even if you have not filed your taxes, but when you do file your taxes, you expect to have $10,000 on line 31 of Schedule C. And then you apply for the maximum amount of that PPP, which would be 10,000 times 2.5. So that's 25,000. Now, as long as you spend 75% of that on payroll, which would be 18,750, then you only will have to pay back the difference of the 25,000 minus 18. No, wait, sorry. You only have to pay back $5,000. So as long as so you took out a loan, you got 25,000 deposited into your account. As long as you spend $18,750, which is 75% of that 25,000 on payroll, the only amount of this loan that's payable back is $5,000.
Because you didn't use it.
No, because only 2 months is forgivable.
Okay.
So if we do another just like more simpler example, and we just say that you just so the max you can take out is 2.5, but you can't, and only 2 is forgivable.
Right.
So instead of a loan, you can just like take that loan out of the picture altogether, and we just think about how much can I get and then not have to pay anything back, because honestly, that is less mess.
Right. And that's probably the ultimate goal that a lot of if you want to execute this accurately, like you may use what you can, but at the same time you're like, okay, how can I maximize the profit on this program and not have to put myself in a position where I got to carry the 1 and multiply the 3 and figure out how much I got to pay back, right?
Exactly, which is kind of like what we just did. Exactly. So if you just keep it simple, and you take out $20,000, that's just 2 months of your payroll, and then you do 75. Let's do 75% of 20. Sorry, I totally use my
15.
calculator all the time. Yes, look, Chef is better than me. All right. So you spend 15,000 on your payroll, nothing is required to be paid back. Even though you got 20,000 in your account, as long as you spend 15,000 on your payroll, nothing is required to be paid back. So now the question is like, well, what does that even mean? Like, what's payroll? I work for myself. Like, how do I figure that out? 15,000 of payroll, meaning that you have to claim that 15,000 in 2020 as income.
As income.
Yeah. And then that's it. Like, it's as simple as that. You have to make sure that, I mean, if you're audited, they may request like bank statements from 2019 to just figure out, like, you can't go and then on your 2020 taxes only claim $15,000 of income. That seems
Right.
shady.
Right.
What you need to do is, like, you need to make sure that it's aligned to, you just have to be fair. Like, this is an honor system. You just got to do the right thing here in order to get access to this money. And as long as your bank statements and the story, because a lot of people are going to be out of business after this, and that's fine too. If your business goes out of business and you got the PPP, that's fine. You won't be required to pay it back. And you can just pick up that 15,000 if that's all really that you made. But if they came knocking, I wouldn't be surprised, because you will have to show a lot of support, showing that you're out of business. This is really all that I made, even when outside opened back up. And so that in itself, what I've been doing, because that, like, even it took about 5 minutes to explain. And I'm not really sure. Like, I think that a lot of people are visual when it comes to math. And so, like, even if that just went over a lot of people's head, like, I think that it's just important that you go speak to your accountant about this. When you get, like, some of my clients they went and applied for the PPP by themselves because they're smart. They can figure out the computer. They asked me a couple questions, but they applied for it by themselves. So now people have started to get their money now. And now that's when everyone's coming back and they're like, hey, I think it's time that we have a conversation, because we just want to make sure that we do this correctly and we don't end up having to pay anything back.
Yep. Yeah,
and so it's just,
I do think it is a visual thing, because it's like some people might be sitting there and it looks like the memes with all of the symbols and
yeah,
and
exactly.
numbers floating around your head. And honestly, like,
For
you
sure.
see the work that's being put in, right? You see the work that's being put in. I got one thing out of that, and that's just because it was a simple one-to-one where I didn't need to get on my calculator on my phone like, isn't that 18.356? But trust me, if you don't want to do all this and get all the headaches, then
yeah. I mean,
get
and
a professional.
and I'm not saying like you need to hire me. I'm the only one that can figure that out. No, absolutely not. There's even actually a lot of business resources that, for a lot of the small business centers, definitely the SBA in New York, they are here to help everyone. There's all kinds of, like, even for-profit businesses that have been offering help for COVID resources. And a lot of accountants are also volunteering their time to speak to businesses to figure this out for them, because no one wants I really feel like there's gonna be a shift right now. There's gonna be a huge wealth shift that's gonna happen after this, and we're not gonna see it until 2022.
Word.
And why would you get left behind just because you don't understand yourself and you're too afraid to ask? That would be such a shame. Like, there's no reason for you to be left behind. Someone in your circle understands what this is. Someone does. And so I really just hope that everyone isn't just like, oh, I can't even deal with that because I can't, like, it's just stressing me out, which I feel like sometimes when it comes to money, we're afraid of it.
Right.
Instead of owning it, instead of showing up to go get it every day. I mean, I think it's cool. We hear it in the rap songs that, I gotta go get this money, gotta go get the bag. And then we're getting this money, but we're not actually filing our taxes, which means that you can never buy anything ever. If you never filed your taxes, you're just as bad as the drug dealer on the street who hasn't filed his taxes,
right.
Which we all know that's how all these drug lords went to jail, right?
Tax evasion.
So it's important that at some point you start filing your taxes, you start actually picking up that income, because I mean, for me, I think that I think that a small business, if you claimed just a $50,000 profit in 2019, you could take the money that you're going to get from all of these programs. You could take the money and use that as a down payment for a house.
Hmm.
And then you now have an asset in your name, all because of Corona. You didn't do anything. This is a disaster that's happening. And everyone, this money that's available, they're going to take advantage. Trump and his little son-in-law, they are going to take advantage of this.
Oh yeah, they're finessing this whole thing.
Yeah, and so like instead of us complaining about, oh my God, it's so unfair, none of these rules have color on them. So if it's unfair and you're not getting it, it's because you're actually something that you're doing it incorrectly or doing it illegally. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like, I hate to be like the accountant that's like, oh my God, you need to file your taxes.
But seriously, you kind of need to file your taxes.
Yeah. Like I definitely don't press my friends that don't file. Of course they love to tell me, oh my God, I haven't even filed my taxes. And I don't judge them. Actually don't say anything. I just say, oh, okay, cool. Let me know when you're ready.
Word.
A lot, like sometimes people ask like, oh, if I haven't filed since 2017, you think that's bad? And it's like, yeah, it is. If you haven't filed your 2018, it's bad. If right now you're sitting at home and it's May 2nd, we've been quarantined for 8 weeks and you haven't filed your taxes, why? What are you doing? Even if you don't have the money, you could gather those documents together so that as soon as outside opens and you get a check, you can go file your taxes. Like I just don't get it. People always think they're gonna owe. Like you could be getting a refund. Most likely, if you didn't get a notice, it's because you were getting a refund.
And the government ain't running to pay you that.
Yeah, and they're not going to give it to you. And you're actually not eligible for, like, let's say you haven't filed since 2015 and you're getting a refund. You're not going to get the money. The money is just going to disappear.
Yep. It's
just now goes back to the government. You can only get a refund for the preceding 3 years. So we're in 20, so only 16,
17, 18, 19, then, right? Because 15 and 16 are done. If you didn't file, like, just hope you don't know.
Well, we're in 2019 tax year. So it's 16, 17, and then 18, you can still get your refund. But I mean, some people are like 2012.
Yeah, so spooky hours for them for sure. You dropped a lot of knowledge on this tax code. You dropped a lot of knowledge on everything that's going on. So I appreciate you for that. But, you know, part of this show is also getting into you as a person and the things that we can learn from you outside of your profession and maybe intertwined too. So first, in this is the skills challenge. I want you to tell me what transferable skills you think you have that can help any of us in our day-to-day life.
Wait, that doesn't have to do with accounting, or that does?
Whatever. Yeah, what that does with your field. Maybe a skill that you have. Yes. The short answer is yes. Something as a tax professional, a skill that you have that you feel like anybody could use to excel in their life. How am I stuttering on it and I'm the one who made up the question? I'm wild.
Damn, that's a really good question. I think that how I could help with, well, since everyone lives their lives differently, I think I'm just gonna like compartmentalize people from like if you're a wage earner, so if you get a W-2, and then if you're a business owner, but the overall umbrella is retirement. I think that I can have that conversation with you, like to break down.
Well, not even so much, I don't mean to cut you off, but not even so much like as a professional, how you can help them, just in terms of like, if you have like
a soft skill,
it could be a soft skill or be It probably would be like a soft skill, but it could be anything that you see that you have, like not like, yo, I can calculate interest
Okay.
rates off the top of my head, right?
Okay.
But
Okay. Yeah.
something else that you may have. I
Okay.
apologize if I wasn't clear.
No, no. Okay. I think that I talk to a lot of different kind of people every day. All my clients are so different. And I have learned how to be a better people person. I've learned like I can really smell bullshit
Mm.
a lot quicker.
So the power of discernment.
Yeah, like I think that like a skill that an accountant has that we that others could take on in their life is like I think really just that we have to be people persons. Like I have to figure out a way to like relate to you. And so it's honestly it's helped so much in like my social skills. Like I'm
Mm.
definitely an introvert. I'm an introvert extrovert. Like I like being in social environments, but I'm definitely more on one-on-one. I prefer one-on-one. But I think that like yeah, like I have really figured out people and really just figured out like you don't just listening like that skill of like knowing when to talk and knowing when to just listen. I've
Mm.
become a really great listener and really have been able to just hear what people are struggling with or what they need and then like figure that out. I
Okay.
think if that answers your
That's
question.
dope. Being communicative,
Yeah.
listening skills, knowing how to
Yeah.
read people and be able to communicate from there. I think listening and speaking after listening as opposed to waiting to make your point is two totally different things. So I used to be in the
Yeah.
in the same field as you on the tech side, and I could say if you don't know how to communicate with people, unless your job is to be in a corner and crank out numbers all day and you don't have to um have interactions, but you will still have to have interactions with like your coworkers and your manager and things like that. You will not progress, or it'll be way tougher for you to progress if you can't talk to people. Actually, I'll take a stand. I don't think you'll progress in your career if you don't know how to talk to people at any rate,
Yeah.
or you're
No,
gonna be
I
it's
totally
gonna be
agree.
stagnated at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I always because I think that is interesting. Like a lot of accountants are like these little hermit crabs. Like
Mm-hmm.
they like to be by themselves because they, or I think people picture like I have papers everywhere in my house. Like I actually have
Mad
no papers.
scientist.
I'm completely electronic, which I really, really enjoy that everything is organized. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of accountants are like they're not socially like inept like in any kind of way. They're very awkward. They don't like to talk to people. They get uncomfortable. And I felt like seeing those at Ernst and Young, those kind of people, they were the ones that got staffed on the worst engagements.
Word.
And it made me realize like there are two kinds of people in this world, people that let shit happen to them and people that make shit happen for them. And the people who are mutes, if you don't know how to articulate yourself, if you can't speak up in a room and give your opinion, if you're afraid to be wrong, you will go through life and things are just going to happen to you. You're not going to have any control over it. But I think that like, and so for sure, communication is the key. Communication is the cheat code. Relationships are the cheat code. You for sure, like, I don't get any of my clients because they know that I can do this. I get it because of the relationships that I have from my work ethic or from people seeing me out in public and they're like, she looks like someone like she doesn't look like the kind of person that is
Is
talking
doing my
about other
taxes and shit.
people. Well, that too. That's a compliment. I'm glad I don't look like an accountant, but
You're dispelling the myths on what a tax professional should look like and
yeah.
act like. Because if somebody met you, I don't think they would guess that you were in accounting or tax. Like off the rip, if I said, "What does she do for a living?" Like, you ever see like on social, like, what does it look like I do for a living?
Yeah.
I don't think you get taxed.
I should actually. I'm
Yeah, do
interested.
that. Do that.
Yeah. But no, for sure. And I even like at Ernst Young, I definitely wasn't like everyone there. But that in itself, like just being the one in the room who actually has something to say, even if it was related to taxes, or if it was something just for us to just like ease ourselves through this like very high intensity environment, it made it so that people were more comfortable with me in the corporate environment. And my job actually started to become managing other people's career as well as managing my own career, which is why I had to have this fuck it moment. Like, whoa. I have too much work. I like you. I love you. I love my staff. But I cannot actually put all of what's happening to you onto my plate as well. This is entirely too much. You guys are not paying me enough for this. So I had to go. But I mean, I still talk to everyone, a lot of people. And it's funny because they would always say, like, I swear, like, you don't belong here.
And people can tell, like, when you work in those type of fields, people know who are the people who are almost too good to be in this type of profession.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we did like a DISC or a Myers-Briggs personality test on my team. And I remember when it was, I think it was the Myers-Briggs. And when it got to the extrovert introvert portion, the graph was like this, highly skewed. Everybody was lower, and I was like at the 90 something percentile. And it was like, it was just like one of those things where it's like, we are not the same. So when you get that feeling, especially in those career paths, that's when you should be looking to see what is it that I really want to do and where I should go. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for that. That was dope. I think that's something that's relatable to all of us. So next, we get into the pass the message. So I want to know a time where somebody dropped some knowledge on you, imparted some type of wisdom that you keep with you to this day and that you share with others.
Wow, I really feel like we sort of just hit on that. But I think that we just sort of just hit on that. We were talking about communication. And so I think that the biggest thing that I just try to remember when I'm walking to any meeting is to just be confident and show up. And if you can confidently speak through anything, you can tell someone very confidently, I understand your question. I understand the implications of your question, but I need to make sure, I'm just going to just make sure that I go back and apply exactly what you spoke about to the rule, and then I'll get back to you.
Was it somebody who taught you that, or was it something that, like, did you hear that from somebody? Did you learn that from somebody else, and now you sharing that with us?
Yeah, I used this actually. I learned this from my partner at Ernst and Young. She used to take me to client meetings when I was like staff, and I always felt like
that's dope.
I felt it was like, yeah, honestly, I was like,
everybody don't get that.
I felt like the prize, like, or like the golden child, I should say, which actually turned into it was a setup, but it's fine because I learned so much from her, just like being around her. And she didn't always know the answer. And she understood where people were getting at, but she just had this like, she would just finesse her way through like things, like through meetings. And I'm like, you didn't understand that? And because now she's giving it to me to look it up. She's like, no, did it sound like I did? And I'm like, yeah, it did. So I think like just being confident and showing up. Yeah.
Okay. That's dope. And I think that's something that we all can learn. Showing up is important. So another way that we have to show up is in the way we take care of ourselves, body, mind, and soul. So tell me, what do you do? We're going to go through the different facets. What have you been doing? Like, what are some of the things that you do, for example, to take care of your body? That could be, it's nothing like rigid or right or wrong answer, but like, first of all, for the body, what do you do to take care of yourself?
One thing that I do, I try to make sure that every time I'm eating is something green on a plate,
Mm.
which is like so simple, but
Word.
really, honestly, we could have, there's so many meals that don't include green, something green, some sort of vegetable.
Word.
So I just try to make sure every time that I'm eating something, there is something green. And if I'm not, then I'll make sure like tomorrow I'll like double it up. Like I'll have like a smoothie and then also have like some sort of like spinach or something. And I've been running, which is so interesting to run in New York City right now because every corner, literally, you run right into somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been like, so running is like zigzagging across the street, and that's been interesting. But yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Okay, cool. What about for your mind?
For my mind, so like we said earlier, this is like, what did you say? You said high stress, fast pace.
Yes.
So usually by the end of the day, my mind is racing
Mm-hmm.
and I need to come down in some way. And actually what I've been doing is I've been playing poker like during quarantine because
Word?
usually my escape is like going outside, going to go see my friends, hanging out, like just doing things. And so I haven't had an escape, and that is a whole nother thing to not have an escape. And to just, I feel blessed. So this is what I worked hard for. So I'm in no way saying, God, take it
She
away.
looking up like, yo, Lord, I ain't gonna hold you. You know, I'm just a little stressed.
Yeah.
Don't take this away, all
Yeah.
right?
So, but I found like one of my friends, he started like a little poker group, and like maybe twice a week we do like a tournament, and we're playing with money, so we're definitely gambling, but it's fun. I mean, it's not a lot of money. It's like $20. And first prize wins like $600, but a tournament takes like 2 or 3 hours. So it's like a really like I'm only focusing on the cards. That's it. Nothing else matters. The only thing that matters is the bet.
Word. Is this
That's been
Texas
like,
Hold'em online poker type stuff?
hmm
Okay. That's
yeah.
dope. That's
Yeah.
dope. Gambling to calm your mind. We are in a different level right now. We're in a different level right now because blackjack is my game, but I fuck with Texas Hold'em, but it's like online playing is are you guys on in video chats with each other so you can see each other? Or is it
No,
just
no,
because
no,
you know
yeah,
that's the other aspect. That's why I
yeah.
be
That was
stressed.
interesting. But there's 40. Well, the last tournament there was 42 people.
What? Okay.
So yeah, so then
That's
you gotta like,
fire.
you gotta get past all those tables.
Word.
But there's people are talking, but a lot of people are not talking. A lot of people are just focused because there's a time. It's actually on our phones. It's an
Mm-hmm.
app, and then there's a timer. So I think you have like maybe 7 seconds or 5 seconds to actually make your bet, or else you'll fold. Um, and
Mm.
so I mean, you got to pay attention.
Word.
But I think that actually, if you don't know how to play poker, right now would be a really great time to learn because online is a completely other situation than when it's live. And then you can look in someone's eyes and be like, "You're fucking lying." Um, but but yeah, poker has like honestly, like I told my dad, and he's like, "What? I want to play!" Like, look me up. How do you give me a username? But yeah, I'm grateful for him for starting that group. Like it's really been very calming, and like I don't answer any texts because like I'm on my phone. So like whatever is coming through, I just ignore it. Eventually I get tired and I fall asleep. Um, and so I guess that's not really a traditional way to calm yourself, but
But
it's
it
been working.
works and it works
Yeah.
for you, and that's what we're looking for. I'm not looking for anything that's right. There's no right or wrong. It's just what it
Yeah.
is. So part of this exercise is there may be somebody struggling with these areas that might be able to glean something from you and maybe hear something different. Like, this is the most different shit I've heard. Like, I'm like, yo, but it makes so much sense to me. Like, that's fire. Now, finally, what about your soul or your spirit? Like, what are you doing for that? And I'm not charging you up on religion or anything like that. It's just, I have to say that it's just like for your own internally, if there's anything that you do.
I think that that's like a really good question, because usually, like, for my spirit, it's like my alone time, and then that's how I recharge.
Mm-hmm.
But because that's all that there is,
There's all alone time.
yeah, it's like, I actually have just been like using, it's been calming just to like really catch up with people that I have not spoken to in a while. But also just like not answering the phone, because I need a second, like, just like, so I think that, I don't know, because we're in quarantine. If we weren't in quarantine, that would have been an easy answer. It's like alone time. That's how I recharge. That's how I feel more like rejuvenated. Like, that's where, but because we're in quarantine, it's so different for everyone. It's been like the opposite. Like, I can't wait to like hug my friends. And I'm not even a hugger. So I think that, like, what I guess, like, in summary, it's like catching up with friends, and just like talking about nothing, like gossiping about Housewives of Atlanta, and all the silly drama of like mindless television. And also, like, even like Twitter has been lit lately, with people being so honest, with their thoughts, and like reading those threads and like trolling has been pretty calming for my spirit. But yeah, so that's really it.
Okay, that's dope. I love these perspectives, man. This is what I'm trying to get at, is to get people to share what they've been doing and what they do in general to like calm themselves, to take care of themselves. Because if it's anything, this whole quarantine pandemic has taught me, is that, yo, if you don't take real care of yourself, you're going to literally wreck yourself. Like, you're
Yeah.
literally going to wreck yourself. You only get one body. You only get one of these, at least in this time frame, you only get one of these. So you need to make the most of it. And taking care of yourself internally and externally will better your life. So we're coming to the end. So we're going to, we talked about some heavy stuff. We talked a lot of math. You know what I'm saying? For veterans like us, we don't fear
so sorry,
the
guys.
numbers. No, it's all right. No, we need that, because like I said, numbers won't hurt you. Numbers won't hurt you, but ignorance to them will. So we talked a lot of heavy stuff. Now we gonna have some fun. So at the end, this is mess around. This is a fill in the blank thing. I'm gonna give you some questions. It's nothing funny. I mean, it's hilarious, but it's not funny style.
Okay.
So
I'm actually writing down what you just said, because I really like that. Numbers won't hurt you, but ignorance to numbers will.
Yeah, you can make me anonymous, so that 300 years from now they're gonna be like, yo, I think it was Pericles who said that, or something like that. It was Marcus Aurelius. It was Albert Einstein. So all right, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to do when all this is over is blank.
Damn. Take a shot with my friends.
Okay. Okay. So far, I've been getting a lot of day party talk, and I feel them, but I'm day party at a distance.
I don't know about that.
Listen.
Yeah, I really think that it's gonna be. I think that New York may even move to like that LA style, where it's like a lot of house parties, and we're just in intimate settings, because we don't know everybody in the day party.
Yeah, you low key don't be knowing people in the house party. I feel like the last one we were at, everybody, for the like a majority of the people, like 75% of the people at least knew a majority of the room.
Yeah.
So that's the type of vibe. Yeah, because people are nasty. People were nasty before this, but this just accentuated, like, listen. All right. Yeah. So next one. If we play blank during game night, you need to be on my team because you ain't gonna lose.
Taboo.
Oh yeah, with this Taboo. Y'all talking a lot of talking Taboo. Why are you good in Taboo?
I think that, so people always say that like I'm a bad, like when it's my turn that I'm like bad at it, like people don't understand. But I feel like whatever, it's because y'all are strange. But I think that I'm really good at like the guessing, like just like listening and like just like moving fast. Like I just like throw out a bunch of things,
Okay.
and eventually, yeah.
Oh, so
I
you're
think
good. You're good to guess, but when you
yeah,
have to go up there and give the clues, that's not your strong suit.
yeah, it may be a little
You'd be
shaky.
like, so I saw it the other day. You'd be like,
No, I
Dora.
give clues, but people don't understand them.
Oh,
Like I
your clues
give
are like more
clues.
like if you know, but they don't know.
Yeah, yeah. But I try to give. I don't know. I feel like we'll see what's gonna happen this season, this
Word.
summer.
This season
But
of
I think that
Taboo,
I'm
right?
yeah. But I feel like I give clues. Like I give like pop culture clues, but I don't. But you know, some people are like, no, that doesn't really translate. But I haven't played Taboo in so long. Oh my god.
I know. It's a struggle. All right. The thing I'm most thankful to have right now is blank.
My health. Yeah. Because I think that everyone has like been in a room with someone that has corona at this point. And I was really, really sick in January. And then I got sick again 2 weeks later. And I usually get sick, but not, I usually always get sick at the beginning of the year, but never back to back in that way. And I have really bad asthma. And so I couldn't breathe. It had like, I was like, like just, I was waking up gasping and then I was like congested and I'm pretty sure I had it. So I'm really just grateful to just have a strong immune system.
No. Amen to that. If I could pick up one new hobby right now, it would be blank.
Painting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I've been
dope.
like, yeah. I bought like all this stuff. I actually already bought like all the stuff. And I just have to do it, which means that I just have to like finish all my work,
Are you
which who
gonna
knows.
are you gonna draw pictures or are you just gonna go free form from your mind?
Um, I'm actually going to start on just like probably on my in my notebook and like draw it out in my head, and then I'm going to take a pencil and draw it into the on the canvas, and then paint it like paint, yeah, because I have something in my head that I just like want to put on a canvas, and I want to hang it on my wall. So I'm looking forward to like finishing and showing everyone. More importantly, finishing and it being good. But I don't know if it's good, who knows. But I do have something in my head that like, and I just really envy artists, like the way that they're just so carefree and like how they are just so in tune with their emotions and so comfortable with the flow of them. And just the different seasons, like for example that Hebrew Brantley had. It's just like, and now like looking back, it's like, damn, he was a genius. He is a genius, like to have those images in your head that are not real. Like there's like a picture and it's raining and there's a little black boy holding an umbrella over his head. And then so there's no rain coming, but it's like a little black boy and it just means so much, but it's something that like the elements that's not real.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I used to draw when I was younger, and one of my many regrets is that I stopped. I went to a paint and sip for my homegirls going away, and we had to draw like Hey Arnold characters in paint. And my I ain't
Oh,
gonna hold
nice.
you. My final painting was kind of tight. Like I even surprised myself. I was like, oh damn, I still got it. But I always envy artists like that paint and draw because they're literally in tune with their spirit and their minds to be able to create outwardly. And
Yeah.
you know, people take it now to like graphic design and all of that, which is equally impressive. But to be able to, from a blank canvas, make what I consider a masterpiece. Like you clearly see, like I have on my wall, like some stuff right here. Like this shit just really.
I kind of like your. I love your collection. It's like
she said a collection. I got a collection now. That's what I'm about to say. I'm like, yo, I have a collection. All right.
I mean, you do. For all of us, we're all starting our collection. Like if I'm not sure who the artists are, but if Swiss buys that piece that's behind me, that's half Spider-Man, half Nas, like then that piece is worth $50,000 tomorrow just because Swiss added it to his collection.
That's fire. Yeah. That's actually it's based off of Nas Illmatic. So Marvel did a whole string of comic book covers that mimicked classic hip hop albums. So this is actually the Black Spider-Man, Miles Morales. He's black and Puerto Rican. So he's like a teenager. So when the artist that made it created it, he went off of Illmatic, and it was just like the perfect thing. So when I saw it, I was like, I bought the comic, and then I was like, yo, this should be a poster, like, or something like that. And I was looking, couldn't find it. Found a canvas art site where you just give them artwork and they'll make it into a canvas, actual canvas painting. So I gave them the cover. I edited it in Photoshop so that it would be the perfect dimensions, and then they sent me that. Like the minute I opened it, I was like, yes,
that's dope.
This is like one of my favorites. So
yeah,
yes. Next,
that's dope.
When it comes to music, if you don't listen to blank, we can't be friends.
Beyonce, duh.
Why not? Why not?
Sorry, too easy. But I do just want to say, back to what we were just talking about with art, that with this stimulus check that nobody was really counting on, I think that what you should be looking into is art. I think that you should spend $1,000 on a piece of art. I think that someone that you believe in, like take a couple days, do some searching on Instagram, and then pick someone. And even if maybe it's just a print because you need to just get comfortable with it in your house. But I really think that if you spend like $1,000 on an undiscovered artist, you really have no idea how much that could appreciate by the time you have children. So that's actually what I plan on, like I've been doing, is just like researching a bunch of artists, just figure out like who's gonna be the first piece that I buy, and yeah. So that's what I would recommend. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I added that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you keep dropping those jewels, keep dropping them. So finally, if you haven't seen blank, you need to see it ASAP. Trust me.
I'll like keep it like pretty current just from stuff that I just recently watched, but I really like all of Apple TV's programming. Like really? I haven't seen one thing on Apple TV that I mean, except Little America, I just really can't get into it. But I just recently finished Truth Be Told, and it was great. It was a really great series. So I think everyone would enjoy it. I finished it in a day.
I saw The Banker. I actually went to a screening of that before I came out with Samuel Jackson and Anthony Mackie. It's a movie on Apple TV Plus. That was pretty good, and it was based off the story of the black businessman who was doing all the real estate.
Yes, I saw that.
They couldn't really do it because of the racial shit.
There's always some racial shit. I thought that was like a really great movie, especially because it's a true story.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, and everybody, Nia Long is in it. So it's really good, dope. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that out. I co-sign on the Apple TV. I got to get into more of the Apple TV Plus stuff. There's just so many. And HBO Max is dropping this month. It's May.
This month.
May. Yeah, it's dropping at the end of the month. So Yeah. All right. Miss Dora, got a lot of info from you
That
today,
was a
didn't we?
lot. Yeah. I'm sorry if it was like, if I was like long winded or if like I was
Nah,
confusing.
if we're talking about money, there's no such thing as long-winded. You know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah.
stuff that's important to us because this is going to be more prevalent as once because we're worried about being able to go back outside and live our lives, but the ramifications, the economic, the financial, we not even going to talk about the emotional and mental ramifications down the line, right? But all of those are something that we're all going to have to reckon with. So why not do it in the front, in the on the back end, as opposed to waiting for it on the front end? You know what I mean? But don't worry about that. This was awesome. This is what this show is about. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Thank you for
imparting your
having
wisdom
me.
on me and everybody listening. So before we go, let the people know where they can find you, plug all your stuff. Go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, you can find me either from my website, you can go to taxcollective.com, or you can, and then you can fill out an inquiry and then schedule a consultation, or you can send me a DM. Honestly, I don't shame anyone. There is no formal way to reach out to me. You can send me a DM. If you know one of my friends, you can ask them for my phone number. Um, my Instagram name is underscore Dora Belle, my name, Belle.
Double
Or
entendre. Don't ask her how.
yeah, let's
Then
not.
she's like, no, don't ask me. Please don't ask me. Because I literally, just a quick story before you go into it. Like, I never knew that was her last name. So I was like, your last name ain't Bell, right? Like, that's some shit that you just made up. She was like, no, actually, that is my last name. And I paused for a second. I was like, yo, that's fire. Like, you came through with auto branding, yo. So,
Yeah,
yes,
I
real
know, right?
name, no gimmicks, Dora Belle.
I know. I need to figure out like better branding
It's
to
right
my
there in your
name.
face, woman.
Um, I mean, but like, I don't think a lot of people just really think that I made it up. Like, it's just for fun. Like, oh, she thought that was
It
cute, and
it
it's
don't
like,
matter.
no.
It's there. It's the reality. Whether they
Yeah,
think you made it up or
yeah,
not, I think it's even better when people figure out that is what it is.
yeah. No, yeah, I just do. You're right. But my grandmother's name was Dora, and my mother's name was Dora, and then my dad's last name is Bell with an E. So we're a little French. We have some French in us. But yeah, they have they're little comedians. Like a little sick joke. Like why would you do that to a child? But it's worked out. I love my name now. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, or you can go to the business page, which is the dot tax collective. But I mean, I'm pretty accessible. Like if you have a problem, there's no problem that's small enough and no issue that's big enough. Just reach out and we can work through it together. And I'm really happy to help. Like I really try to stress to the consultations that I do, that whether or not you decide to go with me after this, that just know that you can still use me as a resource and have another accountant. Like I'm not going to be bitter. I don't care if you go to another accountant. There are millions of citizens in the United States for me to do their taxes too. So I don't there's no love lost there. Like if you just, if there's something that I speak about on Instagram and it touches on something that's relevant to you, feel free to reach out. Every conversation is between you and I. I'm a vault of secrets. And I like it that way. So yeah, so if you need help with anything, even if I don't know the answer, I really don't mind looking it up because that means that I'm learning something new. So take advantage while you can, I would say.
Word. That's dope. And all your information will be in all the descriptions, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it on all podcast platforms. I'll have all of Dora's information so that you could contact her. She's very open. She'll help you. She's responsive. All the positive adjectives that you may need in your tax journey, and
Yeah.
your financial journey too. So that is it. That is another episode of Pass the Message. And I'm going to leave you, Dora, and all of us with a quote from legendary basketball coach John Wooden. Talent is God-given, be humble. Fame is man-given, be grateful. Conceit is self-given, be careful. So
I like that.
That's something that I'm a list maniac, so I keep a lot of list of quotes, and I figured I would share them with the people too. They're not relevant to the episodes. It's just stuff that I look up and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna read them today. So I hope everything that you heard today is something that can help you. And until next time, remember this: learning is cool. Sharing that knowledge is even better. I hope you take these words home, think it through, and then when you're done, pass the message.